Preamble Title 401k and IRA Rules for Living Abroad. What your bank won't tell you. 2026 keyword 420 IRA Abroad Retirement Living Latam Rules Penalties 2026 date 2026 date 2026 810 Durationist 1214 in country Universal Latam Pillar Yeah. Here's what nobody tells you when you're planning to retire abroad. Your 401k and IRA keep working exactly as they did in the US. The IRS doesn't care if you're in Panama City or Medellin. But that cuts both ways. Every penalty that applies stateside still applies. Every required minimum distribution still required. And if you get this wrong, you're looking at a 10% penalty plus ordinary income tax on every dollar you pull out early, on top of whatever your new country charges you. In the next 12 minutes, I'm walking you through exactly how your retirement accounts work when you live outside the US. The rules that don't change, the rules that do, the one window most people miss before they leave, and a strategy that could save you tens of thousands in taxes if you act before you go. Let's start with what stays the same, because most of the worry here is overblown. Your 401k, traditional IRA, and Roth IRA are all US-based accounts held at US financial institutions. Moving to Mexico or Panama doesn't affect them. You keep the same account, the same investments, the same online login. Your financial institution might not even know you moved. The IRS defines accounts by where they're held, not where you live. Because your accounts are at Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, whatever you're using, they're US accounts. Full stop. You can still contribute to a Roth IRA if you have earned US income. You can still roll over old 401k accounts to IRS. Transfers between accounts work the same. The day-to-day mechanics of managing your retirement savings change exactly 0% when you move abroad. That's the clean part. Why? Now let's get into where people actually get hurt. 9. If you're under 59 and a half and you withdraw from your 401k or traditional IRA, you pay a 10% early withdrawal penalty. Full stop. Doesn't matter if you're in Portland or Playa del Carmen. On top of that penalty, you pay ordinary income tax on every dollar you pull out of a traditional 401k or IRA. Run the math. If you're in the 22% federal bracket and you pull $50,000 early, you're looking at $5,000 in penalties plus $11,000 in income tax. That's $16,000 gone on a $50,000 withdrawal before your new country even looks at it. There are exceptions: disability, substantially equal periodic payments under the 72 election, first-time home purchase for IRS, a few others. But I moved abroad is not on the list. Here's the one thing that does change in your favor. State income tax. If you've properly established residency abroad and severed your state ties, surrendered your driver's license, closed state bank accounts, updated your voter registration, you may no longer owe state income tax on distribution. Depending on where you were living, that's anywhere from 0, Florida, Texas, no income tax, to 13% in California, which is notoriously aggressive about chasing former residents. California will fight you on this. Document everything. Now, under the Secure 2 Act, if you turn 73 in 2025 or later, your required minimum distributions begin at 73. If you were born before 1951, the threshold is still 72. Living abroad does not pause RMDs. At 73, the IRS requires you to withdraw a minimum amount every year based on your account balance and IRS life expectancy tables. Miss an RMD, and the penalty, recently lowered by Secure 2, is now 25% of the amount you should have taken. Correct it quickly, and it drops to 10%. Still a real hit. Here's the practical reality. As a U.S. citizen abroad, you file us tax returns every single year. RMDs get reported, taxes get calculated, you pay what you owe. The mechanics are identical to living stateside. What changes is the city you're sitting in when you do it. Most expats I know who have gotten this right are working with a CPA who specializes in expat taxation. It runs $500 to $1,500 a year for solid advice. That's not optional, it's infrastructure. VAR, the Foreign Bank Account Report, technically FinCEN Form 114, requires you to report any foreign financial accounts where your aggregate balance exceeded $10,000 at any point during the year. Miss it, and you're looking at penalties up to $10,000 per violation for non-willful failures. Willful violations are worse. Here's what most people don't know. Your US-based 401k and IRA are not foreign accounts. They're held at us institutions. They don't get reported on VAR. The thing that trips people up is the local bank account they open in Panama City or Guadalajara. Your Mexican checking account? VAR if it crosses $10,000. Your Ecuadorian savings account? Your Fidelity IRA, not on the list. FATCA, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, has a separate, higher threshold. If you're single and living abroad, you report foreign financial assets over $200,000 at year-end, or $300,000 at any point during the year, on Form 8038. Married filing jointly, those numbers are $400,000 and $600,000. The bottom line, your retirement accounts at Schwab aren't the headache. It's the local bank account you open in Playa del Carmen that you need to track and report. That's a paperwork task, not a financial crisis, but only if you know to do it. Oh, Mipis. Oh. The U.S. has tax treaties with a handful of Latam countries. The most significant one for retirees is Mexico. Under the U.S.-Mexico tax treaty, Social Security benefits are taxed only in the U.S., not in Mexico. For 401k and IRA distributions, treaty provisions generally mean you're only paying us tax, not being hit twice. That's meaningful. Panama. No tax treaty with the U.S. as of 2026. But Panama operates on a territorial tax system. They only tax income earned within Panama. Your 401k distribution generated from US-based investments doesn't get taxed in Panama. It gets taxed in the US. You pay it. Done. Ecuador also has no treaty, but Ecuador offers a pension income exemption for legal foreign residents. Retirement income up to certain thresholds may be exempt from Ecuadorian income tax. The specifics require a local tax accountant to verify, and the rules have shifted, so don't rely on information from 3 years ago. Colombia has a partial treaty framework. Costa Rica has none. Brazil has none, which is part of why fewer US retirees target it despite its appeal. The point is this: the country you pick has a real, quantifiable effect on your effective tax rate on retirement distribution. This conversation, specific country, specific income sources, is worth an hour with an expat CPA before you commit. The difference between Panama and Colombia for a retiree pulling $60,000 a year from a traditional IRA could easily be 5 figures annually. This is the one move most retirees miss, and it may be the highest leverage financial decision in this entire video. If you have a traditional 401k or IRA, and you're planning to retire abroad, seriously consider a Roth conversion before you leave, specifically in a year when your income is temporarily low. You've retired from your main job, you're doing part-time consulting, you're living on savings for a year. Your taxable income is in the 12% or 22% bracket instead of the peak years. When you convert traditional IRA funds to a Roth, you pay income tax now on the amount converted. The benefit: qualified Roth distributions later are completely tax-free. You've already settled with the IRS. Run the math. Converting $200,000 in a year, when you're in the 12% bracket, costs you $24,000 in tax deduct. Leaving it in the traditional IRA and pulling that same $200,000 later at 22%, plus potentially navigating a country with no treaty, costs you $44,000 or more. The difference is $20,000 and compounding clarity for the rest of your retirement. Roth IRA withdrawals are tax-free in the U.S. In many Latam countries with territorial taxation, they're not taxed locally either, since the income was generated from sources already settled with the IRS. This window closes once you move abroad because the foreign earned income exclusion and other expat tools interact with Roth conversions in complex ways that shrink the advantage. The sweet spot is the 1 to 3 years before you make the move, while you're still in a clean, simple US tax situation. Let's be honest about what works and what doesn't. The pros: your retirement accounts work seamlessly abroad. No disruption, no transfer, no new institution. Many Latin countries have territorial taxation that actually benefits you as a U.S. retiree. If you pick the right destination, your effective tax burden on distributions can be lower than if you stayed in California or New York. And the core reason most people are doing this: $3,000 a month in Ecuador or Colombia lives like $6,000 or more in a U.S. metro. Your money goes significantly further. The cons: the IRS doesn't relax any rules for living abroad. Penalties, RMDs, annual tax filing, all still required. You file a U.S. tax return every year for the rest of your life as a U.S. citizen, regardless of where you live. Opening local bank accounts triggers bar obligations, manageable but real paperwork with real penalties if you miss it. Finding a CPA who genuinely understands us expat taxation and your specific destination country is harder than it should be and costs real money. Budget $500 to $1,500 annually for good professional help. And some U.S. financial institutions freeze or close accounts for non-residents. Schwab International and Fidelity are generally expat-friendly, but verify your institution's policy before you commit to a move date. If you're still working out which country fits your retirement goals, tax treaties, cost of living, healthcare, we've got full deep dive videos on Panama, Mexico, Ecuador, and Colombia. Links are in the description below. Drop your question in the comments. Which country are you seriously considering? And what's your biggest financial concern about the move? I read every comment and your question might turn into next week's video. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. We publish every week specific numbers, real budgets, honest answers, everything you need to make this decision with confidence. Now, your 401k and IRA aren't going anywhere when you retire abroad. But the rules follow you there. The retirees who navigate this well aren't the ones who ignore the complexity. They're the ones who understand it early enough to make the right moves before they leave. Next video, we're going inside the real cost of healthcare in Panama. Private insurance versus public options, what it actually costs, and whether your U.S. Medicare is completely useless south of the border. Spoiler, mostly yes. See you there. Word count, 18-20 words. Speaking time, 12-13 min at 140 WPN.